Mamai's man of the evening is here, Director of Rockabye. And also joining us is Artistic Associate, co-founder, and actress that you got to see twice last year on Mamai's stage, Deirdre Ring. That's okay, though. We didn't have a rehearsal, so that's okay. You have heard this next person's voice. I'll hide her. You didn't see that. You've heard this voice on the radio for years, championing the arts, supporting the performing arts in Cleveland. We are so, we're so grateful to have her this evening. You're going to get a chance to put a face to the name and a face to that velvety voice. Ladies and gentlemen, Idea Stream's Deep Hair.
It's my great pleasure to be here. I am so impressed with what Mamai Theater is doing and love Dorothy Silver, so where else would I be? I want to talk a little bit about Mamai while we're waiting for Dorothy's arrival. You launched the theater in 2013 with a highly acclaimed production of the modernized Medea by the playwright Brendan Kennelly. Since then, you've made consistently unpredictable and consistently praised choices in content and form. So I'm curious about how the discussions unfold concerning what you'll produce and who gets the final say about that. I'll start with the co-artistic director.
We're friends, so we talk. And we make lists of things that we maybe studied in school, classical plays that we would like to see that no one is doing. So it kind of starts there, and then, do you want to pick that up? Yeah.
How many people saw our original inaugural season in 2013, anything in that? And last year, in 2014, and planning to come this year, already have taken. So I think that there's a few different ways we pick plays. Number one, we love text-based plays and classical theater. We were all trained in classical theater. We just love it. We really like producing work that ensures that there are some roles significantly available in quantity in a season for women. We like to make sure there's some equal opportunity for casting for women in the area. We also really like to promote some job opportunities for directors, designers, and other staff, stage managers, and we certainly hire a lot of men too, and we're really proud of the people that we've had involved in the last 3 seasons, truly, the men and women we've engaged. So, making sure there are job opportunities for women in the industry in the area, producing classical plays, and then, as Christine started talking about, we love plays that are done frequently in other cities by the classical companies in those cities around the world and the country, and sometimes they're not produced frequently enough or at all in Cleveland, so we're the stage where you'll see that.
And the final say question, if there is a play that, is it a democratic process? Is the majority rule?
I think it's actually really the ultimate decision will be up to the co-artistic directors, but we've put an awful lot of things in the pot, and usually everybody's pretty happy with the choice because we seem to be on the same page when it comes to choices, because we all do love text-based classical.
And the three of us met doing text-based plays. I met both of these ladies doing Shakespeare. Yeah.
And I remember your origin story had something to do with a porch and some
Alcohol,
crickets.
perhaps?
I wasn't going to bring that up. But
That was my front porch swing. She said, somebody needs to do these plays. Let's do them.
Yes.
And there seems to be a fairly even distribution when it comes to the founding members directing plays. So how does that get decided?
Again, that's really up to the co-artistic directors. They
So
can
you-
decide that.
you don't
I
see
put
a
in
way
my
of saying-
comments for, I'd like that role. But
But if one of the artistic directors says, no, I want it, then that's...
I
We have to date never fought over a role. We usually go, oh yeah, that's a great part, yeah, I could do that, and you could do that, yeah, one of us will do it. We have a very peaceful process. Now, and Deirdre did bring us scripts to at least one, actually she's brought a number of scripts to us. She brought Woman in Scarecrow last season, and I read it. I beat Christine to the final page, and I called Deirdre or spoke to her and said, I want to, yes, I want to do it.
And do it, mean directing it,
No,
roll.
meaning Mamai should produce this. And in fact, we enjoy working together, and this is an interesting part of why we started Mamai. We didn't have enough job opportunities in area professional theaters to work with each other. Deirdre and I had auditioned against each other and many other talented women for many years for 1 or 2 roles in a whole season. We've never read together for a play that we could have both gotten a job in, correct me if I'm wrong, over the years. And so one of the things that was exciting about Woman in Scarecrow was that we could actually act on stage together for the very first time. And so that's exciting for us.
And what kind of experience was it for you knowing each other as you do in this context as people who run a theater company, but also who love the craft, to be opposite each other?
Oh, it was thrilling, it was thrilling, and certainly in the case of Woman in Scarecrow, I didn't care what role I played. I remember saying to Bernadette, what do you want to do? Do you want to do Woman or Scarecrow? It doesn't matter. We get to play, get to have fun, doing really good work. And so, I don't know if that answers your question, please.
It does. and I don't want to appear to leave the only man on the stage. I was so moved by Dorothy's performance, and I was kind of holding off because I wanted to talk to the two of you together. But I also wanted to get a sense of the process, because even though it's Dorothy's voice that we were hearing in the narration, she doesn't say much on stage, and yet she says volumes. So talk about the interior work that you have to do.
It was almost all interior work. I've told several people it's almost funny. The rehearsals have been me arriving at Dorothy's apartment after work, having some soup and talking, and then finishing soup and starting work on the play, which is mostly just talking. We did lots of discussions about death, obviously, and our own experiences recently and not so recently with death, and probably did more of that than actually working on the play for a long time. It was a lot of Kurt and Dorothy sitting in the apartment yakking about sad things.
And that translated to the performance how?
Once we got down to the text, and that was when we got together with Richard and made the recordings, before any of the echoes or anything like that was done on the technical end of it. We got a copy of that, and we would sit, and she still read. We dug into, in fact, I don't have a lot of Beckett background. I have no Beckett background. I had seen 2 Beckett plays. One, I saw a production of Godot in college, and the production that Dorothy did a few years ago with Endgame. That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge and exposure to Beckett. So we did some research about the original production and Billie Whitelaw and how she performed. There's a film of that performance, and there are a couple other performances that we took a look at. And then we sort of decided how much of that we wanted to use. And she can speak probably more to this when she gets up here, but the original production was much less, there was much less, what the word I'm looking for is, it was a very monotone performance. And we sort of trusted that that was what he intended, because Beckett was involved in that production. But we also felt maybe it was, he had some freedom to bring a little more to it, and Dorothy wanted to, speaking of Dorothy,
We were just singing your praises before you came out. Kurt was talking about how you got to the performance, because most of it is interior work, and he was describing having long conversations. And I was curious for you. So Kurt has had the conversation and he's left. What are you thinking about then?
When I first read this, I thought, great. I thought, I think I speak 5 or 6 times. And since they caught me for this, when I had just finished a hospital stay, and I wasn't really quite sure how long the recovery would take, I thought, what could be better? But as I would imagine, you bring to this experience your own experiences, and it has many layers, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Yeah, I could see that and I could feel it. There were moments when I stopped breathing because I didn't know if you were going to keep rocking. And I had seen the Billy Whitelaw.
Yes, that's just wonderful. Very, very different, but
Yeah.
wonderful.
And I felt that you were this.
Because it's really, the stages of life. I thought of the Marcel Marceau incredible thing that he did, from birth to death. It took about 4 or 5 minutes, and I just fell apart when I saw it. And although this begins, obviously, at a later stage of life, it's certainly about our life and the inevitability of the end of it. And fascinating. And I thought it was much simpler, but it isn't.
But that brings me back to the Mamai piece of it, because for last year's benefit, he chose James Joyce's Ulysses in Nighttown, and this year Samuel Beckett's Rockabye. So is there something about Dublin-born playwrights that's a lucky charm or something else?
I think it's all about Derek.
I manipulated them, I'm sorry. No, I don't know. I just think they're really good. They just happen to be Irish, I guess.
Few words.
So you say.
Would you contrast the two? I mean, I can't imagine that Ulysses in Nighttown has the same tone as Rockabye.
Well, I mean, who else in Cleveland is going to produce Joyce or Beckett dramatic text right now, except for Mamai? And Deirdre did happen to bring both of those suggestions to the table. And we eagerly jumped at it. We thought, Ulysses in Nighttown is a cast of thousands. It's bawdy, it's dirty, it's brilliant, and it's based on the novel Ulysses by James Joyce, which many of us read in college, or if we got through it, because it's challenging. I got through it. I loved it. I took it in a modern novel course. And I had read it once since as a challenge to myself as an adult, and then I never thought about it again. And I didn't know the stage piece at all. And there's music in it, and tons of area actors stepped up for us in that piece. And we were really grateful. And Nighttown hosted us at their venue, and it was a grand old time. Deirdre suggested Rockabye and Dorothy Silver before we asked Dorothy. So Rockabye and Dorothy Silver. And I thought of adding Dee Perry. And we all loved it. And that's how that
Actually, ironically, Beckett was the secretary to Joyce.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he worked with him. And he went, Bill Kennedy needs to talk to this.
Yeah, where's
He's
Bill
our
Kennedy?
expert on Beckett and Joyce. But he went the opposite. He said, I can't do what he did, too many words, so he went the other direction, which was less. Less is more, Beckett, you know, because there's no way he could even challenge what Joyce had done, but they're very, very much connected, both theorists.
Well, and that's both, they both have that stream of consciousness too.
Yeah, and inner, yeah.
And that inner life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we could bring Samuel Beckett back to life, he'd probably hate what I did tonight. Because I too have seen the Billy Whitelaw film, which is fascinating, and it is, her biography reveals that Beckett essentially directed her in it, and he directed her by pulling the chair up very close to her and saying the line and having her say it after it. No, some actors would go nuts if you did that.
We didn't do that.
And we together made a very specific decision not to emulate what Billy Whitelaw, who was a wonderful actress, and it's a mesmerizing piece, I think, do, which was deal with his need for spare, a totally stripped down production. And I would love to know, and I never will, how he felt as he got older and, you know, and died. I wonder if he felt that everything was pulling away. I don't feel that way. And we decided to go in the direction that our personal experience, and we both shared things that we had in common, Kurt and I, would produce a different kind of approach. And when I say he probably hated, it's you know, it's obviously an approach that is very, very different from the monotone, but not monotonous, because she's a splendid actress, the monotone that Beckett demanded of Billy Whitelaw. It's very interesting. Get the film out of the library.
It's on YouTube too.
That's great. You two have worked together before, and in fact, Dorothy requested that.
Yeah, Dorothy brought me on board.
So, what makes this a good partnership?
We listen to each other. You know, I think the same is true of marriage, isn't it? No, I was married when I met Kurt. But we did listen, and I, having worked with him in several capacities, including as an assistant director once, on a show that Ruben and I traveled with. I was very happy when Kurt was recommended by Mamai, because it hadn't occurred to me at that moment. And when I thought about it, I thought he's going to be great, because I know he will listen to me. I understand he has a collaborative nature. At least with me, he does. And that was very necessary here, because it is such a personal piece. So Kurt was wonderful.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the advantages of having Dorothy and I working on this together was a trust and a comfort in the rehearsal room, the living room, for sharing things, and not necessarily pleasant things, and not necessarily comforting things, but to get to where she needed to get to find this woman that we were trying to discover.
He was perfect for this. He really worked. Thank you.
Thinking about your other terrific partner, Ruben, who passed away last year, I was reading about a production that you two did together in 1958, your Cleveland debut in four-poster, and each of you directed the other. And it was just one sentence that I saw in a story that said that, and I found myself thinking about that process. How well did that work? And
Great, it was great. Next occurred. No, we, for reasons I can't explain, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, we were very lucky, we really complimented each other, and unlike some couples I have seen in the theater, who are not terribly anxious that the other person succeed, he always wanted me to be better, and I always wanted him to be better. And the story I love to tell about Ruben directing me was when we did Virginia Woolf, and one night, when we were doing a run through, I heard a loud yawn. And my beloved and loving husband. And I said, was that you? And yeah, it was him. I was boring him to death. And what was wonderful about it was that when you really know each other well and you have high expectations, that other person can make you get better. And so it was great to work with him. It was very easy, very easy. You know, we thought about other things.
Fear, not.
Right.
You've done so many roles over so many years, and acting, directing. As a theater goer, I keep souvenirs to remember plays that affected me, tickets, programs. I wonder how you keep the things that have really touched you, the roles, the truths that you found in them, that you shared with people.
Well, it's